Ekam aksharam hृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमरसा स्वम् छिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरूपा आत्मनिष्ठो भवतु। देहं ब्रह्मवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्ति नाहं तत्तभावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वर्धिय दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मनो सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। Namo Ramana. In this the Thursday Satsang from Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning, the South Bangalore Center. As usual, we will be reading from the work Guruvach Kakkovai. We will be reading 2 verses. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that will be followed by a Atmavicharam practice for 10 minutes. And after completion of these 2 segments, we will be having the summing up by our president, Dr. Sharadaka, and that will be followed by the chanting of the Ashtotram by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. Today we will be having the chanting alone and not the flower bharati. So we will be listening to the chanting from Vaibhavji and Pratnama. That will be the conclusion of the satsang. We begin the satsang by taking one verse from Guruvach Kakkovai. We are reading from the segment Meditation on the Truth. The other two segments being Investigation into Truth and Experience of the Truth. So today we are reading from the segment Meditation. The subsegment is Freedom from Vasanas, within brackets, mental habits and tendencies. Freedom from Vasanas, that is, mental habits and tendencies. This is verse number 676. Like the thorn that is useful for removing a troublesome, irritating and sharp thorn that has painfully and deeply penetrated the soul of the foot. The extremely pure thoughts, after digging out the impure thoughts from the heart, also become redundant. Read the verse again. Like the thorn that is useful for removing a troublesome, irritating and sharp thorn that has painfully and deeply penetrated the sole of the foot, the extremely pure thoughts, after digging out the impure thoughts from the heart, also become redundant. There is a note from Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Question: Sri Bhagavan says that the state of realization is freedom from the tyranny of thoughts. Have not thoughts got a place in the scheme of things? Maybe on a lower plane? Bhagavan: the thoughts arise from the I thought, which in turn arises from the self. Therefore, the self manifests as I and other thoughts. What does it matter if there are thoughts or no thoughts? Question: are good thoughts helpful for realization? Are they not authentic via media, a lower rung of the ladder of realization, of the ladder to realization? Bhagavan: yes, this way. They keep off bad thoughts. They must themselves disappear before the state of realization. Question: but are not creative thoughts an aspect of realization and therefore helpful? Bhagavan: helpful only in the way said before. They must all disappear in the self. Thoughts, good or bad, take you farther and not nearer, because the self is more intimate than thought. You are the self, whereas the thoughts are alien to the self. I'll read the verse again. Like the thorn that is useful for removing a troublesome, irritating and sharp thorn that has painfully and deeply penetrated the sole of the foot, the extremely pure thoughts, after digging out the impure thoughts from the heart, also become redundant. So, Mullai Mullal Eduttal is the Tamil phrase that we have. Those days while walking in the forest, even these days when we walk in the inner Giri Pradakshanam of Arunachala, when we used to, invariably we would be stuck with a thorn or two on the way, and the method of removing that when we don't have a pin or other things in our pocket is to take another thorn, break it, have the sharp edge, remove the earlier thorn. Now, Bhagavan gives the analogy here that the good thoughts are like that. So, after removing the earlier thorn, which is deeply penetrating the foot, do we use the other thorn? No, that is also thrown away along with the removed thorn. So the good thoughts which have helped remove the bad thoughts or the injurious thoughts are also dropped in self-realization. At the core of the good thoughts, the best of them all is who am I? The thought Nan-Yar is the purest of good thoughts one can understand. It is the Brahmastram thought. If we take it up, we will understand what Bhagavan is saying here. How the pure thoughts remove the impure thoughts. The thought who am I is also a thought. It is a thought. But what it does is, in employing the thought who am I, we are rid of all other thoughts. Deep, shallow, poisonous, non-poisonous, all other thoughts are removed. For whom is this thought? Who am I? Holding the I, all other thoughts are removed and thrown away. And when the practice reaches the culmination of removal of all the vasanas, all the predilections or the subtle tendencies that we have, which rise up as thoughts, when all those vasanas, which is the subsegment, have been destroyed, have been rooted out, then there is nothing to push us into thoughts. There is no need to use who am I. Bhagavan says, only when thoughts arise do we need to ask, who am I? For whom is this thought? When thoughts don't arise, where is the need for asking, for whom is this thought? Who am I? There, the thought, who am I, like all other thoughts that it has helped us burn, also gets burned in that chit, in that sat, in that sat chit, which is the source of all the thoughts, which is the source from which the I thought has arisen. So that gives us clarity as to how a good thought can help remove all other thoughts and also in the end finally get dissolved in the jnanagni, in the agni of the self, the satchit, which is ever present, which is self-luminous. The thought who am I, along with the ego, it gets merged and like the stick used in stirring the fire, the funeral fire, that stick which is used to stir and burn all other things in the fire, that also gets burned and is finally thrown into the fire. So the stick also doesn't remain. In fact, to just indicate how the dharma, bhakti and all have been fashioned, is that in my life from 93, how I have started is that I have had to use the dharma, the speaking of truth, speaking of working of ethics. Beautifully how these have been designed is that all these good practices, speaking of truth, keeps away the lies, keeps away the falsity, and the fact is one, the fact what we have done is one, while the lies we can adhere to is multiple, is phenomenally great. So many thoughts are kept away if we simply have that practice of speaking the truth. Ethical practice is one, unethical practices are many. Therefore, holding the ethical practice removes thoughts again. To me, after a period of 2-3 years of that, the japam was given by the Acharya Vijayendra from Kanchipuram. That what when we do have the pure thought of the mantram. I used to practice 1 hour in the morning by Bhagavan's grace and 1 hour before sleeping. It keeps away all the impure thoughts. It washes away, and it makes us pure. And then at the right time, the practice who am I appears before us. The Brahmastram appears before us, which completely eliminates all thoughts. It doesn't discriminate pure, impure, that, this and all that. That's why Bhagavan says, for the one practicing who am I, no other sadhanas or rules are required, because this will take care, this will burn them all off and give the benefit they would have given. And finally, the thought, who am I, also gets burned in that Jnanagni, the ever-present self-luminous self. So that is the practice that we are going to sit for 10 minutes. The pure thought of Namya is used to burn away all other thoughts without discriminating, as Dilipji usually tells us, without discriminating as this is a good thought, this is a bad thought. Whichever thought arises, we should diligently ask, for whom is this thought? And the answer will always be, this thought has arisen for me. Immediately, the thought, who am I, takes the eye back to the source, the mind goes back to the source, and the thought that arose falls away. With repeated practice, the vasanas that rise up as thoughts are all burned, and one is able to rest effortlessly in the source. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in Atma-Ucharan for 10 minutes. Vaibhavji is there?
Yes, sir.
You can set the time for us?
Yes, I'll do that, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. We continue the satsang by going to the second verse. We are reading from the segment Experience of the Truth. The subsegment is Divine Grace. Verse 967. Ishvara, the Atma Swarupa, Ishvara, the Atma Swarupa, while remaining beyond mind consciousness and shining free from attributes and limitations, assumes these two attributes and limitations through pure Maya and then appears in the very visible form of the physical Guru in order to bestow his grace on devotees. His grace is only the being consciousness that shines unbroken as I in the stillness that is experienced when the ego subsides in the heart, its source, by enquiry, with its attention turned towards the self. Verse 967, Ishvara, the Atma Swarupa. Ishvara is that Shakti, is that power which is beyond the mind, which can be independent of anything else. Ishvara, the Atma Swarupa. Bhagavan here says, take Ishvara to be the Atma Swarupa. While remaining beyond the mind consciousness, Ishvara remains beyond the thoughts, the thought level where the thinker, the act of thinking, and the thought, all the three are there. Ishvara stands beyond that. Our prarabdha prakaram, adarkanavan, ஆங்காங்கு இருந்து ஆட்டுவிப்பன். Bhagavan says that according to the prarabdha of each, Ishvara remaining within each conducts their doings as per their prarabdha. Hence that which is not to happen will not happen, try what it may. And that which is to happen, because everybody's action is controlled or is released by Ishvara, no individual can stop something from happening. That which is to happen is bound to happen. Try what you may to stop it. This is absolutely certain. Iduve Tindam, says Bhagavan. Hence the best course is to remain silent. So, who is Ishvara? Ishvara is the one who is beyond our I thought, but releases the vasanas which are beyond the I thought and makes us see what we see, makes us do what we do, each one of us. So no individual who is identified with his individuality can come in the way of the happenings. Now, that is same is approached in a different way in this verse. Bhagavan says that Ishvara, who is beyond the mind, assumes these two. Assumes attributes and limitations. So whatever we see is all Ishvara. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. So we get 2-3 different ways of looking at Ishvara. Who is Ishvara? He is that principle, that power which is beyond the eye, beyond the mind, beyond the thinker, thinking and thought. But he himself, through the power of Maya, takes on the attributes and limitations and manifests as all this. Ellamum eduve ahum. All these all resolve into this Purana, resolve into the I through pure Maya, and then appears in the form of the visible Guru. Appears in the form of the visible Guru, which is Bhagavan to us. Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi. Of course, Bhagavan says that the physical form is not the only point of contact between the disciple or devotee and the Guru. Even after the dissolution of the physical form, one remains in touch with Guru, and he comes to us in the form of his teachings, in the form of the Atma Swarupa, in the form of the Ishvara within us. So he comes in the physical form of the Guru as Bhagavan and gives his teaching in order to bestow the Ishvara's grace, in order to bestow his grace on his devotees. When Avayar is asked, what does she want by Shiva? Avvai pol enakun arulai tandane alavadunkadan arunachala, Bhagavan says. One of the meanings to that Aksharamanamala verse is that how you blessed Avayar, in the same way you take my life and bless me. Now, to Avayar, what is the blessing Shiva, the Ishvara, has given? Is that he asks what she wants. She says, give me freedom from birth and rebirth. Give me moksha. Then Shiva asks, suppose I find you ineligible and don't give you that. What else can you ask for? What is the next thing you will ask? That you are bound to take birth. Unnai maravadiruttal vedum. Please bless me that I never forget your form as the Ishvara inside me, as the teacher inside me. Let me never forget Ramana. If I am not finishing off my freedom, my sadhana to free myself from birth and rebirth, if I ask for one thing, let it be to just remember Bhagavan, to remember Ramana, to remember the Guru who is going to guide me. Where does he guide me? His grace is only the being consciousness that shines unbroken as I in the stillness that is experienced. So where does Bhagavan's teachings and the grace take us? It takes us to the I that is experienced in the stillness of the ego. Son manada tanuvil karmadi siridindri summa amarndirukka amma ahathil anma jodiye nidana budiye irad bidiye inba ambodiye. Sol manada tanuvil karmadi siridindri summa amarndirukka. When we still the speech, the mind and the body, and Bhagavan is saying to one of the great saints who visits him, who asks, what is the best way to access your grace when we are there? Bhagavan says, be still. My grace is always present. Bhagavan is present all around us. The transmission of grace is present all around us. We can access it by doing just one thing, by summa irukkal, by being still. Sol manada tanuvil kanmadi siridindri summa amarndirukka. Then this instrument becomes eligible to experience the ever-present grace of I. That is present all around. That there is no time and no place where it is not present. The grace of the Guru is present as the I, that is experienced when the ego subsides into the heart at source by the enquiry Atma Vichara, with its attention turned towards the self. With the ego's attention turned towards the self, when soul manada tanuvin karmadi siridindri, when the I ego is turned towards the self and remains still, then within the guhai, within that I, the Paramatma, the Ishvara, the Atma Swarupa shines, and that shining is felt by us. உள்ளதுணர உணர்வு வேறின்மையில் உள்ளதுணர்வாகும் முந்திப்பெற உணர்வே நாமாயுடன் முந்திப்பெற. There we are identified with the I. By stilling the ego, by turning it selfward, we experience the Ishvara's grace not by being apart from it, but by being the grace, by being the Sayujya Padavi, by being one with the I, by identifying with this Purana, one is able to abide as this Purana. And Bhagavan says to Gambhiram Seshaya that when you hold still, just experiencing this Purana also quietens down, and there is only the self. The self alone is. Till that is experienced, till the camphor of the fire of the I, self-luminosity of I also not quietened down, Atma Vicharam will be there, because Bhagavan says, hold that and be still, Sumairu. And then that Spurana also quietens down, having burned the body identity. And there is only the self, there is absolutely nothing else. Towards that, Bhagavan has given us this Brahmastram to access the grace of Guru, to access the grace of Ishvara, to still the ego. Bhagavan has given us the sadhana of Namiya, who am I? With his immense grace, let us sit in Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. Raghuji, you set the time for us.
Yes, sir, I'll do that.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय। Namo Namo. I request our President, Dr. Sharadaka, to give her remarks. Namo Namo.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. By the immense grace of that self, as has been told to us repeatedly even during the Satsangh, we have been able to meditate on the immense grace itself. That grace which has brought us to self-inquiry, which is manifest in our lives as self-inquiry. While listening to the quotes or to the words, teachings which Bhagavan brought out today in the two verses, one of my thoughts was, I was reminded of a conversation which I had recently with one of the senior devotees of Bhagavan, Sri K.V. Subramaniam at Sri Ramanashramam. He was narrating how he had gone to the north due to various reasons. He had gone away from Ramanashramam for several years. And he said, when I was there, I would not forgive myself if I forgot Bhagavan even for half a minute. I would not forgive myself if I forgot Bhagavan even for half a minute. But now I am here. Do I have that yearning? I am here, he said. I am here. So that yearning is not there. And that need to say, not forget Bhagavan, to hold on to Bhagavan is also not there. Because one is already there. So, when there is a sense of being away, of moving away, then Bhagavan has told us that the good thought will help us to get back. So long as there is a sense of separation, there is a need to get back. And the best thought is that thought which reminds us to get back to the self. So long as there is a feeling that I am bound, the need to be free is important. So this good thought, and as Nandakumar ji pointed out, the best thought is the question, who am I? And that thought is necessary as long as one is having a sense of identity. So long as there is an externalization, and Bhagavan gives this instruction to Jackie the dog also. Jackie the dog gets distracted by the barking of some other dogs outside or who have just entered the ashram. Jackie is sitting near Bhagavan, and Bhagavan is outside the old hall, near the well. Other devotees are also gathered there. And Jackie, when he sees this other dog, the stray dog, he gets disturbed and he starts barking at that dog. And Bhagavan tells Jackie, why do you look at that dog? You close your eyes and you turn within. And immediately Jackie follows Bhagavan's instructions. But then, so there is an outside, there is a distraction to which Bhagavan gives the counter thought. Turn within. Turn within. Why do you get distracted by something which is outside? Or it may be sometimes, if it is in the case of the white peacock, Madhava, once there was another blue peacock which was eating something. There was something placed for that blue peacock. Already there was something given for Madhava. But Madhava wanted to go and fight with the blue peacock, saying, why is he coming here? Then Bhagavan told him, you got your share, you focus on that. You focus on your share. Don't worry about the other person. So in this way, the Sat Chintana helps to remove the distractions. Very beautifully, Nandakumar ji said how step by step, how telling the truth removes various distractions in the form of the untruth. And it slowly prepares us to ask us, what is the truth? What is the truth? So when we hold on to a good thought, then the question arises, what is good? What is truly good? So gradually it turns the mind inside, working along with the powerful enquiry, who am I? But for Ishvara, there is neither good nor bad. There is no freedom from bondage. It is not freedom. Being Ishvara is not a state of freedom. There is no duality at all. So there is no bondage and there is no freedom and there is only the self. So all the dualities, the good and the bad, they merge. And a very beautiful example came to my mind because Bhagavan has given the example of the thorn, to remove the thorn. So normally the thorn, he says the thorn is painful to us. So we will use another thorn to remove this painful thorn. But Bhagavan, being Ishvara, is there a thorn? The thorn itself is not painful to him, as it were. Once when Bhagavan is walking on the hill with his old classmate Rangan, it so happened that Rangan's foot was pricked by a thorn and Bhagavan removed the thorn for him. And further down, Rangan noticed that Bhagavan's foot was pricked by a thorn. And Rangan said, Bhagavan, may I remove the thorn? Bhagavan smiled and said, yes. But when Rangan saw Bhagavan's foot, the sole of Bhagavan's foot, it was full of thorns. And Bhagavan showed him the other foot. You want to see this one? And he said, which thorn are you going to remove, Ranga? So he did not, even the need to remove a thorn was not there for Bhagavan. Because there is nothing even in the Ishvaratva, as Nandakumar ji told us, everything is included in Ishvara. Everything is that alone. So when everything is that, where is the thorn? Where is the good? Where is the bad? Where is anything to hold on to? Or where is anything to discard? But because there is this division, until the point of division, one must hold on and one must hold on to the recognition that even this holding on is happening because of grace. That's what Bhagavan tells us. He is saying that everything is grace. Every moment is grace. And side by side with self-inquiry, Bhagavan always asks us to surrender. the beauty of Ishvara, the magnitude of Ishvara's love and grace is always pointed out by Bhagavan. All of Bhagavan's devotees, if you see Shiva Prakasham Pillai's writings, side by side we have the joy of singing Shiva Prakasham's writings as Ramana Padamalai, and in Nanyar Enapar Aniyam Vidan, Navilon Padam Vardave, that he will say. And he will say, Ishan me Yechumayam Poden, Raipon Padam Vardave. Cast all your burdens on the Supreme. Keep finding out, keep inquiring. So the two wings, as Muruganath Swami says, the two wings of the bird, the two sadhavanas, which of course come to us by the immense grace of Bhagavan. Otherwise, as Bhagavan says, again he has taught us to say, out of all creatures in this world, what did you gain by choosing me, O Arunachala? It is grace, grace all the way. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri
Namo Ramnaka.
Thank you, Arunachala.
Namo Ramnaka ji and Pratna, you can start the chanting.
Yes.
First of Namo.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योमि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्दितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्भ्रमाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूडिकाखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ धूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयाळवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशूर्णाचलरिक्पोतस्कन्धाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिवृन्देन सेवितामृतसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणे नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावपूजनाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ मृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाबन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्थिनिर्जन्मांशवे नमः। ॐ संसाराणवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शूणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ भागविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुदराय नमः। ॐ शूद्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषक्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः। श्रीरमणस्तोत्रशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पतयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवश सादात्म्यभावन्यतः प्रज्ञिष्ठस्वरवीरनित्यतपसा लोकां पुनासेकरात् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नमः लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Giving respect to the lockdown, we are not having the plural Harati and the Paradna. Namo Ramana to all.
Namo Ramana.